everyone into the corner. There's a bit of panel rubbing. Sanchez Gonzalez is around.
It was the perfect day for Team Huizinveld to start off their championship the way they wanted to here with the SimRacing Republic. The GT Open is a team's game, and now they realise that it is going to be all about toe as they get themselves ready for action here at this fabled high-speed ring known as the Red Bull Ring. This is where great racing comes to life, and for this Austrian circuit, it's not too far away from the slew of German competitors here and teams that are looking to put themselves on top. Welcome to the party. Welcome to the conversation. My name's Jake Sperry, along here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Alex Goldschmidt is alongside with me for today's running. Christian Deploy is in the director's chair using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But what to be said about the Red Bull Ring, a circuit that has seen it all, that has done it all, that has been, in business, out of business, some sort of in between. It's got everything out here, this place, and let's have a look at it right now with your track guide.
Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Remus and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Remus tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and under trays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula One holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race.
Well, Alex, the Red Bull Ring offers so much of an opportunity to make the overtaking prowess known. You've got turn 1 at Niki Lauda, turn 3, which is now known as the Intervetten turn, and turn 4 at Rauch. This might be one of the few places in the world where you can have everywhere as a legitimate place to pass.
Yeah, definitely the case, Jake. I mean, with 65 meters of elevation change, maximum gradient of 12%, which is normally going to be up towards Intervetten. These drivers are going to be pushing probably north of about 245 kilometers an hour going into the braking zone. And as you rightly say, you come through Rauch and then it sweeps downhill using the local Styrian countryside. And especially coming out of turn 7 through Graz into 8, you've got a big crest because you go downhill into Jochenrindt completely blind. It's a bit like the Austrian equivalent of Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch.
Yes, and so you get that sense of, oh, you got to go up over the top and then you got to descend down the hill and back up it again. It is very, very hilly. We are basically on the side of the Styrian Mountains here, so you got to be very much a case of, okay, switch on and get yourself ready as they go. But we'll talk championship now because this is not an individuals game, even though they are individuals in their cars. It's about the teams, and Team Huysingveld, the 48 and the 49 cars on top at the moment, with Absolute Acelith second with the 69 and 70s, and then Negative Delta by SimGear.gg, 181 and 182, absolutely smiling currently. They're tied on points with German Sim Racing. Then in fifth, it's Firefly E-Racing ahead of Hyperion Racing, with Firefly E-Racing's 140 and 141s in seventh position. Sud Sport Racing is then in eighth, as you've got then two more Absolute Aceliths, the 169 and 170, and a 103 and 104, who find themselves in the positions that they are. But Pro is one thing, but remember, if you've got a 1 next to your name here, Alex, it's Pro-Am that you're also racing for.
Yeah, it's Negative Delta by SimGear.gg that with the 181 and the 182 that currently lead the way, 12 ahead of the 138 to 139 pairing for Firefly E-Racing, who also round out the top 3 with cars 140 and 141, a further 13 points adrift. Absolute Acelith GT3 169 and 170 round out the top 4 ahead of the 03. With the Lion GP Academy 135 and 136 ahead of the sister team of 111, 112 rounding out the 7 in Pro-Am.
Just got word in from qualifying that German Sim Racing Red number 18, being piloted by Colin David, must start the race from pit lane, from towing out of the field before or after, or going back out onto the session after towing the car, which is a big no-no in this series. Let's talk about, though, information then of what they've got to deal with. This is the sprint, so this is the first of 2 races tonight, here or this afternoon, or wherever you are around the world. It is currently going to be only a 25-minute race on round 2. It's GT3 spec, with the result of this race setting the grid for the master race that comes along. And as well, it must be noted, Alex, that there is a custom balance of performance here for these drivers to go and navigate through for the running that they have. They are limited to 47% of a tank, and current changes on ballast. The Chevrolet had a -2 given to its ballast, as did the Ferrari and the Huracan, a -3 to the ballast for the Mercedes AMG, and a +1 to 6 kilograms for the Ford Mustang. And everybody either gained or lost 0.25% of power, the only loser being the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Everyone else had a gain in that regard.
Yeah, it did indeed. And also now we turn our attention to the starting grid here for round 2.
We do, where Jan Senkowski for Team Huysingveld on the pole on a 128.985 with Marcelo Caserta and Absolute Acelith 69 there in second position. You've then got Ryan Fuqua for Hyperion in third, and Alessandro Vanozzi, who was the winner of your driver of the day from round 1. We'll talk about that when we get on board with him a little bit later on. Velin Vitanov for Negative Delta by SimGear.gg is fifth, the best of the Pro-Ams, with Colin David there sixth for German Sim Racing, having to start from pit lane. Nicholas Volpato then and Nathan Deering make up your top 8 on the grid.
Yeah, then it's going to be Lars Wetzig for German Sim Racing and Mirko Brückner for Firefly E-Racing rounding out row 5. Sven Landgraf for the 140 Firefly car will be joined on row 6 by Jens Brothers Competitions, Julian Eichenlaub. Nick Hansen for Team Huysingveld and Alex Dave Haas rounds out the top 14 on the grid, with Jordanin, I'm just about trying to make that out at the moment.
I believe it's Svetanov.
Yeah, Svetanov with Johnny Amaya for Absolute Acelith GT3 in the 170 rounding out row 8.
I was just about to say how brilliant it is to have a German speaker here next to me. Steven Freiberghaus then in 17th with Patrick Schaefer there in 18th, which leaves Pascal Hull with Dominic Nabel then making up the 20, and Marco Petracchi then in 21st position for Absolute Acelith 03. They're looking to charge forward. The last three unable to start in qualifying due to an incorrect number submission. They had a round one grace period. If they hadn't sorted it out by then, you're going to have to start from the back and not go. Full pace lap then given to these drivers. So the opportunity now presents itself for us here at the Global SimRacing Channel to talk about the Driver of the Day award for each race. It's announced at the start of the next race, which we are at right now. So for round one at Monza, it went the way of Alessandro Vanozzi. At the end of the season, all drivers that are Pro-Am are thrown into a pot. Two of them will receive 1 hour's worth of coaching from real-life driver Leon Urger, who has been out there in the likes of GT4 circles over in Germany in the past, as he has built his sim racing to help prioritize what he can do from racing out there. Now, keep an eye out on the circuit here. It's 29 degrees Celsius at the moment, Alex, but there is a weather front that is coming in from the north. It is not going to hit, we believe, until 12:45. So I think these drivers are going to be safe here in these 25 minutes, but that master race, all of a sudden, an hour and 5, might get a little bit damp.
Yes. I mean, I had the experience of that having been at Spielberg for the fourth round of this year's Porsche Sprint Challenge 3, and the weather then on a Saturday could not make up its mind. But yeah, it could be slipperier than an ice rink, and if that standing water runs down the hill from Intervetten, all I can say is rooster tails will be plentiful, visibility will be at a premium.
And these drivers will understand that for the first time this season, they will have some wet weather running, and they do not want to deal with that. Now, also, let's talk very quickly just before we go to racing. It's not just about being at the front like Team Huizingveld and Jan Senkowski is. It's about the combination of the two cars. So the 48 car, for example, of Nicky Hansen, all the way down in 13th. Now, that's not the scenario you want. You want to be with Acelith is at the moment, 2nd and 4th.
Yeah, definitely the case. But as we always know, Jake, that sometimes qualifying is not always going to give us the true, real indication of how Nicky Hansen might be able to get his way through the field. But that depends on what happens on maybe the opening couple of laps of this sprint race, which will then decide the grid for the master race later on. But Pace Car has got its lights out. We're ready to go revs up here at Spielberg.
So it is going to be Jan Senkowski, Marcelo Caserta, Ryan Fuqua, who's got his teammate here today for Hyperion, and Alessandro Vanozzi. They've got to wait for the drop of the green flag to go, and they cannot launch any quicker. A lot of blinking back there for the likes of Nicholas Volpato. Green flag drops and we're underway. What a lovely launch then off the start there, and that's going to be huge for Absolute Acelith as they get the launch, and they could get at least one to the front here to turn one. There's some leaning on with the likes then of some of the cars. There's going to be a spinner then through the opening corner. Disaster for what was needed there for Patrick Schaefer for Firefly iRacing Silver. He'll get up to speed. They'll drop down the hill to Munster and the Intervetten at turn number 3 to get themselves ready. Back up the climb once again, and already there's troubles. One car has gone straight off the road. John Amaya.
Yeah, also dramas for the 169, Nicholas Volpato.
In the back.
Yeah, so, oh dear, pile up at Intervetten, and that is not what you want to see there. There's one of the Hyperion cars, Nathan Deering, involved in the number 4.
Yeah, he was the one who got turned around under braking. Marco Petracchi was the one who ended up in his side and nudging him around, and then basically it was a chain reaction. Everybody in, last one in the accident pays the fees out there. Hurl already up then, 6th place in class for Sudsport Racing, and will feel quite happy about the way this start has gone. I think Race Control's going to have a very busy look at this sprint, as Hurl at the moment seeing Alec Dave Haase just in front trying to go and navigate through off of the start. The Ferrari behind of Nicky Hansen trying to figure out whether he's going to get himself involved, and he will, into Jochen Rindt down the inside, and has a little bit of a nibble into the side, and he gets turned across the quarter panel. Alex, incredible. Turned across the quarter panel.
Yeah, it's just so quick to see how things can change on a sixpence here at the Red Bull Ring, as we keep an eye on Velin Vitanov, currently leading the way in the number 181 negative delta by SimGear GG Ford Mustang. And that car looks to be a bit of a rocket ship with that 5.4 litre Coyote V8 up the hill through into the very sharp right-hander here at Intervetten. And now that this is where the roller coaster really starts. And the thing is, when they go into the braking zone in towards Hau, you're going to have that camber to the right-hand side. So the right side tyres are going to take a little bit more brunt, especially through the sidewalls.
Yeah, they very much are, and especially when you've got the elevation change down the hill, gravity working against you really does make life difficult. But Vitanov knows in the 181, good gap over Stephen Freiberghaus, who's there in second in class. And get this for Stephen Freiberghaus, what a start if you want to talk overall position here. Alex, he's gone from 17th to 7th on the opening lap.
Well, someone's definitely got the is chomping on the bit to try and move up. And more to the point here, Jake, what we're seeing is that it's an all-Italian top three in the pros with Caserta, Senkowski and Vanozzi. Lamborghini's sandwiching a Ferrari in the middle, and it's the blue oval dominating in GT3 Pro-Am with Vitanov, Freiberghaus and Landgraf leading the way.
But there is Alec Dave Haase looking for the move and backs out of it at Nicky Lauda. Somewhat wide, close corner it is, wide in front, then goes Landgraf. And so, sorry, not Landgraf, sorry, but it's Freiberghaus. And so there goes one of those positions that he had made up so diligently. And you get a slowdown penalty on the outside of turn number 1. So he loses another one, and suddenly he hits the brakes and he'll be looking behind at Eichenlaub for position for the Jens Brothers competition. Their first start this season, so they're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, so hopefully Pascal Hurl for the Südsport Racing team trying to close on in and maybe get a positional gain at this point. Eichem now holding station, a further car behind, a couple of cars behind his teammate, but also just really good to see how concentrated these drivers are as Hurl goes for a move down the hill through out of turn 6 as they go through into the left-hander here at Graz. You've got to be very, very careful. But look at this, Caserta being pressurised by Senkowski to the inside at Jochen Rindt, and Senkowski gets through.
Yeah, for the moment, but not Vanozzi. Caserta could come straight back, but doesn't quite manage that one outright. So keeps himself where he is. Velin Vitanov in 4th position, sits on the back. It's a Pro-Am team, but Velin Vitanov, he drives like a pro.
Yeah, we've seen some great performances in previous rounds, not just of GT Open, but of also the SimRacing Republic Sports Car Championship in previous seasons, Jake. So we do know that that has a crack squad of drivers amongst its roster.
Oh, it absolutely does, and we see it again and again and again. Pit window officially open in case you need it. Out there in this one, Senkowski looking behind from what looks like the very top of his Alpine house by the looks of things, with the wooden slatting there in the back, and it's very busy. This has almost turned into a 2-tier championship at the moment. The top 6 have broken away, and then about 10 seconds down the road, Landgraf, Haase, Hurl, Eichenlaub side by side with the likes then of Freiberghaus. Jordan Svetinov wants a piece of it, as does Nicky Hansen to try and move up, who realises he's out of position in this race. And this is where it gets tough to note. Very nearly contact between Ferrari and Mustang there as Svetinov finds himself in the mixer.
Yeah, that's one of the things with the characteristics of the Red Bull Ring, where it's a bit like a pendulum swing. You find that you gather that gap under braking, and then as soon as you accelerate out of the corner, you find that the car in front might have a little bit more waft underneath its rear wheels to keep the traction down on the tarmac and get it through. But Senkowski trying to start to break away from Marcello Caserta. The gap is about 7 tenths as the number 49 Ferrari 296 is trying to stretch that advantage. But look at this. I think Alec Dave Haase is finding himself between a rock and a hard place, because up the inside, that is Nicky Hansen in the number 48 Team Hoisingveld car. He's up a position. So good move there by Hansen through Nicky Lauda at turn 1.
And all of these cars being AMs to fight, and immediately Alec Dave Haase straight back through. Patrick Schaefer side by side as he gets by Mirko Bruckner for position. The Firefly E-Racing bronze car, then behind silver. Going to take a look at the start. It was Alec David Haase actually losing a lot of ground then over through the final corner. There was the bump, and we'll take a look from Schaefer's perspective here. Bang! All it takes, a little tap on the outside, and then everybody has to try and scatter around it. And look, there's more argument off the exit of turn one. Say what you want to about a closed corner. The thing with the opening up of what it is now compared to what it used to be is going to be huge out there as far as they go. Now, I'm getting word here that their incidents for the number 17 and the 166 out there have been afforded as no further action, quote unquote, shared blame between them. So there is going to be no further action involved for the incidents with the 17 and the 166 off of the race start.
Yeah, kind of not really surprised with that decision. I mean, especially when it's on the opening corner, you know, something's got to give. And yeah, let's not forget, and also at the back of that, we were nearly the best part of 5 wide going into turn one, and that would have meant that at least 3 of those 5 cars would have possibly ended up going straight on and possibly hitting the barriers. Meantime, Valentinov has just set the fastest lap of the race overall, and that's with the 1:29.346. Here's Lars Vetzi for German Sim Racing in the number 17 car, closing in on Ryan Fuqua in the Hyperion Racing number 5.
Oh, they're changing spots. It's deliberate. Now, watch this. It's a team game here, Alex, but it's a case of, you know, you turn around and you say, Marcelo, Alessandro is faster than you. Do you copy?
Yeah.
Oh, not like that, you're not.
Oh, no. Vanozzi's just completely binned it coming out of Graz at T7, right through the kitty litter. And that has dropped him behind Velin Vitanov, and Ryan Fuqua's got through, and that's put him straight into the path of Lars Vetzi in the German Sim Racing.
Oh, the other one's off.
Oh, dear.
Rejoining, well, they've got the position that they want to now. It's cost them 3 places, but my goodness me, what a horrible lap, or half a lap it's been for Absolute Aetolith.
And it's like, you could say, yeah, lightning struck. Oh, it struck again at turn 10. And that's the thing. Yeah, they might decide, yeah, we're going to play a little bit of strategy. As you said, it is a team game now in GT Open. So it completely changes the complexity and the dynamics of how the sprint race will parlay into what we see a little bit later on. So, I mean, Lars Vetzi in the German Sim Racing Cyan car, well, his teammate, Colin David, in German Sim Racing Red number 18, is all the way down in 15th position, and he is 3 3/4 seconds behind Patrick Schaefer in the Firefly E-Racing Silver number 138, as Pascal Hurl again trying to get through. And this is on Sven Landgraf, and the Lamborghini has got the inside line, but now it becomes the outside line.
Oh.
Wiggle with the steering, has to check up a little bit. He's going to lose a position as well to Eichenlaub, and he gets third.
He's absolutely incensed there. Stephen Freiberghaus has gone off with him, and he will be absolutely upset. Firstly, with the first bit of contact, I think he just turned in on the first car of Firefly E-Racing, and then the second one at the second left-hander. He's had just an absolute disaster. He's just too deep in on the brakes from Freiberghaus, which has put the contact in. Totally get the universal appeal of arms up in the air. I can't believe that's just happened, but there's one thing we know about Dominic Hurl from the opening round and here into the second. He chucks it into corners more than most drivers.
Yeah, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a double-edged sword as well, as Alessandro Vanozzi now closing in on Ryan Fuqua. But Velin Vitanov is up into P2 overall and leading in the Pro-Am division. He's got a whopping gap over Sven Landgraf, over 10.2 seconds. So looks like we're going to be getting a replay. Here it is.
So this is Marco Petracchi on the brakes, steaming in at a rate of knots, catches Nathan Deering there in the Mustang, and then everyone goes around. He has been put at fault for moderate contact responsibility on this one and handed a 10-second penalty out there, which puts him from last by 10 seconds to last by 20 seconds out there at the moment on the road.
Insult to injury on that one, but yeah, I think it just, when you completely misjudge a braking point, that is in some respects, with the quality of the field that we have, they know the standards that they're expected to adhere to, but sometimes when you make a mistake like that, it's, you know, you're going to be the one that's going to be apportioned that blame for that incident happening. As Vanozzi trying to get through on Fuqua again as they go up the hill through into the slight kink at Munza and then into the hard braking zone. Vanozzi's got the outside line. Fuqua might be able to dive a little bit later on the brakes. There's Vetsic just behind, and Vanozzi makes the move, well, keeps the position ahead of Fuqua, but Vetsic might have a chance here.
Yeah, the Green Eagle of German sim racing wants to soar, gets to the inside and now realises here comes the opportunity. Fuqua stuck on the outside for Hyperion Racing. Does he get enough drive off for the exit? This 4th, 3rd in the category. Answer to that one is yes for the moment, but not clear into the left of turn number 6. So Fuqua can get the inside line, but if it's pinched well enough, it could work. They'll have to go to Graz at turn 7 here. The outside line works the oracle again. Then for Lars Vetsic, can put the power down now, can get the drive off the exit with 11:40 on the clock. Mark him up ahead and 3rd in class.
Nicely teed up by Lars Vetsic, but Ryan Fuqua will want to try and get that position back. But then Marcello Caserta is with them, so it is going to be a bit of a battle for these drivers over the next 11 minutes and 20 seconds. But you can see here that Vetsic just keeping it on the racing line. Fuqua just waiting for the opportunity to get the power down early enough, coming out of Niki Lauda turn at T1. You can see that Lars Vetsic has just got a little bit more additional speed, considering it's the fact of 2 blue ovals going against each other on the same bit of real estate. And then hard on the brakes into Vetten over the slight rise, and then it's down over this progressive downward slant in towards Valve, and it's a very, very deceptive section of the track, I feel, and it's a very underrated part of it as well.
Oh, it is, and you are fighting for one line off the exit. There's no multiple lines can take. You can go quick. It's just one line. You're going for it. You're trying to get what you can. Marcello Caserta watching on in 5th place. He's trying to get back the positions that he has lost. Speaking of which, Firefly E-Racing Blue 141 has been given 5 seconds worth of time penalty out there for minor contact responsibility. Then over at against car 166, then on the number 7. So that will be enough to make a difference out there and damage in play. Eichenlaub for the Jens Brothers competition here, currently in the 106 machine, under threat from behind from the 107. Direct teammate there, Alex Dave Haase, and then in front of him, Sven Landgraf, who's trying to get by and just trying to hold on to this. Nicky Hansen trying to put a gap between him and the Jordan Svetanov to open up the gap right now for the overall championship. Remember, Zinkowski and Vitanov 1st and 2nd at the moment on the road, so only a minor gain as far as it stands in the overall standings on the team that's in 3rd, who should profiteer up.
Yeah, I think it's just a case, you know, with this team game, there's always that strength by numbers situation we have to consider as well, when you've got Haase and Eichenlaub in each other's wheel tracks, keeping Landgraf very, very honest here. And, you know, it is always a case of, you know, picking your moments. And it could be the same thing with Alec Dave being told, okay, Julian's going to let you go by, as we saw with what happened with Absolute Acelith, and that went completely wrong within half a lap for both drivers, one at turn 7 at Graz and one at turn 10 coming out of the final corner. But these Corvettes, I mean, considering the fact that when we saw Jens Brothers competition in GT3 action in GT Open last season, Jake, they were running in Aston Martin, so they have made a completely different switch to American muscle.
Yeah, and they would have done so to say, this is the car that I'm going to go with this season. All of the balance of performance changes, I think it's going to be the best one for the circuits that come out. So you will see that teams aren't always loyal to a certain car. Well, the only other exception that you have is that Team Hoisingveld always love a Ferrari, and so Jan Semkowski finds himself in a Ferrari, and so too does Nicky Hansen, looking to try and prove that that will always be their car of choice to go with at the moment. Under 8 minutes left in this race, and they are really having to give it a whole heap of push forward, and they can see the looming threat of Velen Vitanov in the background for Jan Semkowski, who on that last lap took 4/10 out of the race leader.
Ooh, well, that just goes to show how much confidence he has, as here comes the move. Eichenlaub to the inside of Landgraf. This is for P2. This could open the door here for Alec Dave Haase, but at the moment, Eichenlaub just holding his nerve. Landgraf back to the inside as they go down through turn 6 in towards turn 7 at Graz. And Eichenlaub is still keeping it pinned to the outside. That's a great maneuver if he can pull that off. And he's got his nose ahead. And the Corvette does the move on the Mustang out of turn 8. But look at this. The Mustang is fighting back. Landgraf is not wanting to give that position away easily at all. He slots in behind Eichenlaub through Jochen Rindt. And they've got to be very, very careful. Meantime, Fuqua and Vedsich now battling for P3 in the GT3 Pro Division, and they are not that far apart. Probably call that about 2.5 tenths as they go up the hill from T1.
One car lifts, the other one chucks it to the inside, and so if you're going to hold back, Alec Dave Haase is going to want to get in, and he can't get by Landgraf. If you have to lift out, another car's going to attack you on the train. Nicky Hansen wanting to move up. Even though he's fighting against Pro-Ams, he needs it to get more pro points, and he can't get enough of a line here, but tries the outside of the Intervetten, looking from the rear of Eichenlaub. Then as we go now, Nicky Hansen with a good run over the top of the hill, and an element of circuit, as we will now note, the black and orange mechanical flag out there for Nicholas Volpato, who has had to tow the car with a massive incident at turn 1. Oh, contact.
Yeah, that was so close between Nicky Hansen and Lars Vetzig at that particular point.
Oh, we need a replay of it. Sorry, our director's just heard it. It was a Jordan Svetinov first and foremost who went off, and ultimately, I think he was a driver who just ended up getting caught out, wrong place, wrong time. It was the most atrocious rejoin I've ever seen.
Oh, that's, yeah, I'm going to be interested to see that one as well, but what's happened now is that Eichenlaub has bolted away from Landgraf. Haase is there. And, oh, dearie me, Patrick Schaefer nearly into the back. Once again, Colin David, who's made some good progression. But here's the replay. And now this is Volpato into turn 1. And then, oh, no. I'm sorry. That is unacceptable.
Is this where I turn around to you, Alex, and say he's actually the chief racing steward of the SimGear series?
Yes, who we've both been a part of. But yeah, but no, I think the thing is that he, you know, on that point, the main consensus is hold your brakes. Hold your brakes. Don't let the car roll back. If you can bring it forward, fine. But when you're on that kind of a camber, and it's quite a steep elevation, you know, the gradient is probably at least 10 degrees going up to Niki Lauda corner, and then the outside, I mean, I've seen it in real life where drivers have held their brakes and it still has not stopped the car from rolling down the hill. But Colin David, in the meantime, has made some great progress in the German Sim Racing red car, teammate to Lars Vetzig. So that is now P6 for the number 18 car. This is looking pretty good. 36 for German Sim Racing.
Right, here comes the chance then back from Patrick Schaefer. Colin David's got it covered at Jochen Rindt, but you can get up and under sorted, but the speed carried is too much, and that sorts itself out then as far as the battle is concerned between them. So they'll fall back into line. Another look. So this was Alec Dave Haase here going through turn 1. Oh, the back steps out, bang, he gets into the side, and everybody just has to scatter and scarper to move around and get position. Nicky Hansen with a lot of worn damage there. You can see on the right-hand side front, that is definitely not going to be helping straight line speed.
Now that's going to really hurt his aerodynamics and also potential turning if there's any damage to that right front steering. As, well, Schaefer just now starting to do what he can to close in on Sven Landgraf, who is losing a lot of time. Eichenlaub is trying to clear away from him at the moment. So, yeah, it's never easy when you see the car in front of you make a slight mistake, and that is really, really unfortunate. You know, coming out of Nicky Lauda corner, you've got to watch for that sausage curve right on the outside because it can unsettle the car. If two wheels go into the air, you are literally a passenger.
And Jordan Svetanov has been assessed a drive-through penalty, but the car is damaged down in the pit. So assuming that he doesn't go out, I would argue that his penalty is going to have to be converted into something else. Zenkovsky going purple at the front of the pack here with Velen Vitanov looking behind with Alessandro Vanozzi for a little bit of pressure. David happy with where he is at the moment, working through the final chicane. We got final corners. We've got 2 laps to go, and I think Schaefer's the one more under pressure. Here comes Nicky Hansen.
Yeah, Hansen's just trying to keep it to the inside. He's going to go late on the brakes, and he's just about made it through. There's contact between the pair. Hansen got his elbows out on that one and was not willing to give up that racing line. Slight bit of contact, possibly minimal damage to the left rear of the number 48 Team Heusingveld car. But look at this, one of the Jens Brothers competition cars diving to the inside. That's a brave and bold move in Intervetten, and that was Alec Dave Haase in the 107 Corvette.
Yeah, and Pascal Hurl got another nibble out of it there, and I did notice he's wearing a Red Bull t-shirt. Out there is Pascal Hurl, so for Sudsport out there, he's really getting put through the ringer as Nathan Deering, who has been spun around in this race, he finds himself there. What a lovely top-down view you've got. I have to admire that coffee table.
Yeah, definitely a good shout there, with quite a few lengthy books to read as well, if he ever gets the opportunity. But we're down to the final 60 seconds. Final lap has been declared here, Jake, but at the moment, Senkowski is ahead by 4 seconds ahead of Vanozzi. Vetzig rounds out the top 3 in Pro, with Vitanov, Eichenlaub and Landgraf the top 3 in Pro-Am.
That's Petracchi there to lap traffic going for a spin through turn 1, and so we'll pull out the way of the cars in front of him. We'll climb the hill over then towards turn 3, the Intervetten, and for the moment Alessandro Vanozzi's got a chance. And remember, these are important overall points. Even though he's second right now in his category of Pro, he's looking at the Pro-Am points thinking, well, Velen Vitanov is where he is, and now here comes the move. He launches it to the inside. Velen gives him the space on that inside track, and he's going to have to go the long way around if he wants to pick this up. This is critical right now for Absolute Isolate to a second in the overall championship in points. Now sweeping around the outside here of turn 6, looking for an angle at 7. Doesn't have the drive. I think Velen Vitanov has it covered and scouted, and will do, going through Graz. But here comes the attack, coming off the back, up and under to up and under block. So now here we go. It's going to be turn 9. You're going to have to find it. No such worries, because for the 3rd straight race in a row, it's Jan Zenkovsky who's going to come to the line and is going to win the race here at an absolute ease, as he only just flicks over and says, yep, done it, light flash. Vitanov will hold on for 2nd. Vanozzi for Absolute Isolate there in 3rd.
Yep, Lars Vetzig will win the drag race of the 2 Mustangs between him and Ryan Fuqua for P3 and P4 in the Pro Division. But Pascal Hurl right in the middle of a sandwich between a Corvette and a Mustang. And that is going to be Nathan Deering, who's just elbowed him out of the way. And, well, you can see the frustration on the Sudsport Racing driver's face. I'm sure there's a few blue German expletives in the air in that locality.
Yes, and we don't have the ability to have sound, and I would say thank goodness in that regard, otherwise the bleep would be going till the cows came home. But John Amaya will be one of the last cars then making a way to the line. Dominic Nabel then behind will be the final driver to cross. Not the most amazing sprint for Sudsport, but they know that they've got a lot of responsibility to try and claw back the points that are required. But 3 in a row for Team Huizinveld, and their second straight sprint race victory that they've got over the likes then of Absolute Acelith and German Sim Racing in category 2nd and 3rd. Ryan Fuqua will end up in 4th position, with 5th belonging to Marcelo Caserta and Lars Wetzig there in 6th. Nicky Hansen is then 7th for Team Huizinveld, and Hyperion Racing, their second car, down in 8th. And for overall, as far as they land, not exactly what the doctor ordered, neither for Pascal Hurl and Dominic Nabel over at Sudsport. Over to Alex now with your Pro-Am division.
Yeah, well, it was a pretty good win for Velen Vietenhoff with negative delta by SimGear.gg, Julian Eichenlaub for Jens Brothers Competition, and Sven Landgraf for Firefly E-Racing, and the number 140 rounds out the top 3. Good result for Firefly E-Racing as Mirko Brückner rounds out the top 4, with Alec Dave Haase bringing a strong 2-5 finish for the pair of Corvettes for Jens Brothers Competition. Stephen Freiberghaus, Patrick Schaefer and Johnny Amaya round out the top 8 in the Pro-Am class. And then a bit of a difficult one for Marco Petracchi and also Nicholas Volpato with Yodinin Svetanov. Looks like his penalty is going to carry over to the main race of a drive-through for the 65-minute longer distance one, where we will see pit stops here at the Red Bull Ring.
Absolutely, so they'll go a lot longer here, and it will be a 2-stop race. You would feel an hour and 5 minutes with the 47% restriction on the fuel tank that is there at what is a very high gas guzzling circuit. You spend over 75% of the, over 70% of this lap here, Alex, at full throttle, over 75% of the lap at least half throttle.
Yeah. And I think also with that 47% fuel limitation on the tanks here, Jake, it is going to be a case of who's going to manage it the best and who can eke out those additional maybe lap or so. It's going to be interesting to see what the different strategies will be employed by the drivers here in the 65-minute race.
Yeah, I would as well, and especially because the way that this grid will now form up is exactly from the results of that first race. So I look at the big profiteers from it. Negative delta from 5th up to 2nd. Jens Brothers 12th up to 7th. You're turning around, and there were great runs up and down the order. Now, we remember the fact that Firefly E-Racing blew in that race, of course, Alex. They climbed up on the opening lap from 17th to 7th. The rest of the race, they lost 8 spaces.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with the circuit like here at the Red Bull Ring. You don't know how the lie of the land's going to play out until you get towards that. You know, it's not just the start of the race, it's also what happens in that interim period between start and the end of it. And you've got to make sure that to get those points on the board, you need to be a little bit aggressive, especially in the sprint races where it's just 25 minutes and it's all guns blazing.
Yep, so sprint done in terms of our scenario. We now move over to the Master as far as they set, and would be a good time actually to talk through what happens in the Master as we've got Ryan Fuqua currently out there, because Alex, as far as they set, yeah, which we're putting 3 times the amount of time from 25 to 65, but this is what you're trying to win, because this is where the biggest bulk of the points are going to come from. It's okay being good in the sprint. You can sacrifice the sprint in some respects, so long as you get the Master round together and in your back pocket.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to that all-important team game. So the drivers will be, you know, in their respective channels, like saying, okay, right, this is what we need to do. This is the strategy we're going to employ. But with as there always is, Jake, whenever it comes to a race where you need a pit stop, it is a case of, okay, try and fuel save, lift and coast if you need to at the absolute maximum, But as we saw in the sprint, that always sets the tone for how the master race for 65 minutes will pan out.
And I am looking over from the northern mountain range that is going through. It is going to rain first on the back stretch of the circuit from turns 3 to 4, the Intervetten to Rauch. In my view, the worst place to start experiencing rain on this circuit. And even worse than that, I'm taking a look at the bands of rain which go from blue to red, what I would say categories 1 to 5. I am seeing spots on the radar of Category 4 rain on the horizon.
Oh, and that could be very, very tricky, especially coming up to the hard braking zone for turn 3 at Intervetten. And then also the fact of going downhill as we're riding on board here in the warm-up session in between the 25-minute sprint and the 65-minute master race. You know, you're going to see now, folks, going through here into Hull here at turn 4, you've got that camber on the right hand side, you've got a little bit of a dip which you've got to kind of watch out for, and then it's a little bit blind going through here into turn 6 before you then go downhill, and then it opens up. You can see turn 7 here at Graz. It's a bit like the Austrian equivalent of Okayama with Piper and Revolver, very similar in the way of how it flows downhill through that double left section.
You know what? You are absolutely correct about that, because the first corner builds you for the overtake, and then the second part, if you hadn't got it done in the first part, you just, well, basically saw it off for the second. It's a bit elongated, and it's there for you. So that's what you're trying to keep in mind as you go about. Now, here's something else that these drivers wouldn't have had any time to practice with. Because we're going into the Master, they have had no wet running at all. It's been completely dry. This warm-up means absolutely nothing to them. All the racing before, absolutely nothing, because the conditions, they have had no work on that to go and help. I have no idea what the practice conditions were out there, but right now, I turn around and say, look, a good grid position gives you what you want. I would be half tempted to look around at this circuit. It won't be wet straight away in the sense of where do you go. It's a case of who's trying what. And I've just taken a look at my camera, and the rain has just started with 2:55 left on the clock in practice.
Yeah, and if it's coming from the northern part of the circuit, Jake, and especially with you saying it, spots of it being DEFCON 4, I think that rain could come in and sweep over the entire track. So this now gives the teams and drivers, oh, there it is, and that is not a slight shower, ladies and gentlemen. That is a little bit more significant, and yeah, that is going to be a case of Freiburg House will be treading on eggshells. It'll be like skating on an ice rink if that car gets a little bit sideways on slick tyres. So, you know, and it's at one of the heaviest braking zones of the circuit, up to turn 3 at Intervetten. So you might think, oh yeah, I'll brake at 75 metres. You got to at least expand that by at least 50 metres to make sure you get it slowed down to turn it in correctly.
You do, and this is where we start talking about wet weather specialists. Who are the best when the conditions get slipperier, when you don't have as much grip through the corners? The one saving grace for these drivers is you only two struggle corners massively by comparison to what you'd find on a normal track are 6, 7, 9, and 10. And maybe 1. But when you get to 3 and 4, it's always going to be slow in, but maybe slightly slower. So the big overtaking zones don't actually make that much of a difference. Where it will is suddenly now going through the middle to late sector.
Yeah, and I think it is, as we saw there with Patrick Schaefer in the 138 Firefly iRacing, you know, that rain is coming down a little bit further over the circuit. So we're now coming through in towards, well, coming out of turn 5. Rain is still coming down into turn 6, and now it's getting a little bit more heavier, a little bit more significant on that windscreen. I'm quite surprised that Patrick Schaefer has not yet put on the wiper blade. But, you know, you've got to avoid that gravel, because that is going to be absolute torture. If you get elbowed out coming through Graz and you've got someone on the inside, And then it's here, turns 9 and 10 here at Tralk, and here at Jochen Rindt, and then through into the final corner. Now it's circuit wide. This is going to say to the teams, right, we've got a decision to make here. That rain has just come in quickly, and Patrick Schaefer looks to be, I think that was, I got a little notification that he's actually on, yeah, he's on wet weather tyres. So Marcello Caserta has been out on wets.
Yeah.
So I think if you're doing a little bit of practicing now, as the checkered flag is out for the warm-up session, let's just say things just got a little bit more spicy.
Yes, and so that was only Category 1 rain that hit initially. There is Cat 2, Cat 3 that's coming through, and then Cat 4 if it comes and hits in the right way. But as far as the grid will now stack for this second race, this master that comes up, Jan Senkowski for Team Huizenveld in control, but Velin Vitanov, the Pro-Am Championship leaders there for Negative Delta by SimGear.gg alongside, with Alessandro Vanozzi for Acelith 69 and Colin David there in 4th for German Sim Racing. You've then got Ryan Fuqua, who is then going to be in that 5th position as they go, and 6th for Absolute Acelith there, the number 69. Then it's the Jens Brothers competition and Firefly E-Racing, which makes up your top 8.
So next up, it's Lars Vetzig and Nick Canson rounding out the top 10 for German Sim Racing and Team Huizenveld. Mirko Brückner and Alec Dave Haase rounding out row 6. Nathan Deering and Pascal Hurl on row 7, with Stephen Freiberghaus and Patrick Schaefer rounding out your top 8 rows.
And then the final 5 of John O'Meara for Absolute Acelith GT3, the 170. Dominic Nobel for Sud Sport Racing, the lowest of the pros. And then the 3 Pro-Ams, Marco Petracchi for the Acelith 03 team. Absolute Acelith GT3 with Nicholas Volpato. And then with a drive-through penalty and at the back, Jordan Svetanov, Negative Delta by SimGear.gg. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. And all of the drivers have turned around and gone, I am going to start this race on a set of wet weather tyres. Now, that is not shocking in terms of where they are. What is going to be interesting, though, is the track is labelled as very lightly wet, which means the fastest tyre at the start of this race here is not going to be the wet tyre. It is going to be the dry tyre out there as the fastest. So they've all gone to the wet tyre, and rightfully so, because they take one look at the weather radar and they do not see a patch of sunshine in front of them. They are going to be into Category 2 rain then for at least the foreseeable future, and there isn't anything that's going to break up over the top of the hills coming all the way over from the likes of Vienna and co down to go and help them out in terms of these conditions. So they're looking at this going, well, it's going to be wet, and they look at the timeline available for them, it's going to be wet for a while.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to use discretion as the better part of valor. So I think it's the right call to go onto those wet tyres, because they'll have spotted the weather, as you rightly said, and thought, okay, right, I don't really want to be on dry tyres, because depending on how quickly the rain front comes in and how significant it becomes, Drake, then if there were runners on dry tyres, the first thing you don't want to be on is the back foot, which means you have to make an additional pit stop. And that's what the drivers do not need to do at this point. Oh, well, we've already had a little bit of contact on the formation lap. Great start there.
It's never ideal, is it? And any form of contact at turn 3, the Intervetten, is not going to be doing anybody much of a favour as you go on through. So Bumper then temporarily being discarded there, and I think it was just avoided by, I believe, Sven Landgraf. Was the one who almost got caught out on the back of Marcello Caserta, so it's going to be able to continue on for it. But you're already getting the sense of a rooster tail then, even at this low pacing condition. And one of the things about this track and how they're going about it here, because they haven't run, quote unquote, and they've gone over, track state is going to be any rain that's been deposited for the 5 minutes that they were stationary. This track's going to be a lot worse than what they had in terms of how they start things off. What do you think the biggest key, Alex, very quickly, is before we get ourselves to running?
Keep your nose clean through lap 1 and just get through it.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's going to be so difficult as they now look to try and line up at the moment here. Vitanov then holding himself with a bit of a gap to Jan Senkovsky for the moment, maybe trying to keep things slow. And actually one thing they've got to note as well is that because we're wet, they're probably going to be able to extend the fuel tank a little longer. If anyone dares to dream of a one-stop here, that could be absolutely huge. So there's no overlap at all right now for Jan Senkovsky. He's got a major margin. Vitanov closes up the gap to about just on the tail as we're going to get ourselves ready. Green flag drops and we're underway. Vitanov a little slow. They're going to have to be very careful launching on what is a semi-slick surface now as they look to crest the rise over to Nicky Lauda. Turn 1, 3 wide, 4 wide. There's contact in the back. They all go through okay. Negative Delta still under the threat of battle as they go through with Alessandro Vanozzi, but it's a cleaner start than it was in the dry. It's forcing these drivers to go and think about where they want to be, how they want to place, down through Munster and up to Intervetten. Turn 3 out on track, the first big braking zone opportunity of the race.
Yeah, Vanozzi through and goes a little bit wide, so Vitanov has to go left. And 4 wide for P2 already. Vetzik, well, Fuqa's there. Vanozzi is round about there. And look at this, Fuqa's trying to really dive to the inside of Lars Vetzik, heading into turn 4 here at Raul. And there is Caserta trying to stick his nose up the inside of the German SimRacing Mustang. He makes a little bit of a hip and shoulder check with Velen Vitanov. But look at this, Senkowski, no surprise already, and we're already just halfway through the opening lap. He's 1.6 seconds up the road. It's Vetzik versus Fuqua down through out of 6, into Graz at 7. And my, oh my, this is going to get very, very spicy very, very quickly as Vitanov all over the shop. He's got Caserta to his inside. Nicky Hansen's not that far behind either. He's right in the mix. And there's so many drivers that you might think, well, they're going to be between a rock and a hard place. Caserta drifts wide coming out of Jochen Rindt and out of the final corner. He's got to the outside, just a little bit wide. That's going to give Fuqua the inside line. Coming down the stretch as we complete the opening lap.
This is sketchy, and there's small mistakes being found. The catch are held then by Ryan Fuqua as he went through. Vetzik up to second again. Another nudge over for Caserta. He has to abandon to the outside. Velen Vitanov there. Pascal Hurl has had himself a great start. He is up 7 on the get-go and make that 8 as he gets by Velen Vitanov. Pascal Hurl is on an absolute tear on the wet conditions on the start. And Vitanov has to abandon ship there. He outbroke himself, had to abandon stage left as he had made sure there was no contact with the cars around.
And that has promoted Sven Landgraf to the lead of the Pro-Am division. Patrick Schaefer now P2. Vitanov right with them as the leaders for Pro-Am are wheel to wheel. Landgraf to the outside of Schaefer. Schaefer's got the inside line here into Hauch at turn 4. The two cars so close together, but Landgraf sweeps around the outside, has got confidence in that outside line coming out through turn 5 and keeps a hold of the lead and then extends a slight gap between himself. But Vitanov gets through on Schaefer. Hansen trying to look up the inside of Pascal Hurl. And this is through out of turn 7. And look, did you see Pascal Hurl's eyeballs? They nearly came flying out, bulging out of his face like the mask with Jim Carrey behind on the movie when he takes eyes at Cameron Diaz for the first time.
Absolutely, those eyes went wide as anything, and Velen Vitanov is behind all of this. Nicky Hansen is absolutely motoring here, and I think he realises just how important it is. Lap 2 completed here. Pit window opens with 1 hour to go, closes with 5 minutes to go. And they hit the brakes through, and Hurl is looking for any way to just hurl the car back through. Hansen wide there over the curb, and that's going to mean that he's struggling to put the power down. They'll descend down the hill, follow the river, so to speak. And look how quickly these Rooster Tails have come out here. How much water is being dumped down on this circuit. Oh, Pascal Hurl's got in far too deep. He manages to get it to slow up, but that was so lucky to thread the needle between himself, the likes of Nicky Hansen, and Ryan Fuqua.
Yeah, that was very, very close indeed. He was lucky he didn't even go further straight on because that could have aquaplaned straight into the barriers. Hansen's to the outside of him into Hull here at turn 4. The Lamborghini, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari wheel to wheel, but also this is bringing in Velen Vitanov back into play. It's a Mustang 1-2 with Sven Landgraf in that second position. Lamborghini
Caserta
in the P3. Oh,
got to go up to second because we got a big scrap on between them here, side by side through route corner, and Lars Vetzig right now is saying, well, I am the Vever specialist at this point, but he's not got that at the moment. Caserta on the outside, looking for a way to go and get this to go and work, and he pinches him down and just sweeps it by. That's an excellent pass by Caserta.
He knew that he had to make that move to get through on Vetzig, but the Mustang might have the legs, but Vetzig is running blind at the moment down the start-finish stretch as we complete lap number 3, go on to lap 4, and Vetzig just gets out of the spray from the rooster tails provided by the absolute ace-lith number 69 Lamborghini Huracan. But look at this, Hansen going wheel to wheel up the hill through Munzer. Pascal Held cannot see a dicky bird right about now. Spray everywhere in front of the Lamborghini, and there's a little bit of paint swapping between Messrs Fuqua and Hansen through into Intervetten. Fuqua tries to get the crisscross, finds Held quickly there, has to duck out of the manoeuvre.
And there is Pascal Hurl in the bottom right corner, just thinking, where do I want to go? Left or right? Left or right? Goes left and realises I'm going to have to try. He's turned him. Bang! Huge accident there. That's a massive, massive hit there for the team then, and that's going to be huge off. There's another car off there as well. That's Alessandro Vanozzi for absolute ace, and 2 major moments down at Rauch.
Well, it's a case of when you're in a bit of a pinch and you're trying to cover off the person on your inside. And yeah, that's a real shame for Ryan Fuqua, but Vanozzi just, I think, may have just outbraked himself, went straight on, kept the throttle pinned, so managed to keep himself there. Meantime, ahead of him is Alec Dave Haase for Jens Brothers competition. Meantime, looking at where Julian Eichenlaub is down in 19th position at the minute, so he's lost 7 spots overall, as Patrick Schaefer trying to hold on ahead of Velen Vitanov in the negative delta by Simgear GG Ford Mustang, the 181. Volpato and Amaya ran at the top 5 in Pro-Am, as here comes Nicky Hansen to the inside of Lars Vetzig, and the Team Hoising belt number 48 gets through on the number 17 German SimRacing Cyan, but Vetzig is quickly back on the offensive, gets a little bit of visibility now, pulls to the left-hand side of Hansen, up the hill, through Munzer, through into turn 3, here at Intervetten, a little bit of a wobble under braking by the back axle of Vetzig. Hansen trying to get the traction down, Vetzig trying to get down that traction a little bit earlier, trying to stay out of that spray. And look for the back diffuser of Nicky Hansen. You can just about see the headlights in that shot and a little bit of sky up above.
Yeah, it's very tough to see behind, and we're getting that at the moment, but giving note here that for failure to hold the corridors of both sides, there are 5-second penalties out there for 66 or 166 or 66 in this race, 67 in this race, and then the 138 in this race. So that will be Firefly iRacing Silver, the 138, and Race Control will take a look then, as we see on the right-hand side. Very busy they are right now. And then it's 2 Sud Sport cars, which is one of them being the Chrome and the other one being the Gold, that are going to take that. So big double whammies that are going to have to be made up over the course of this race, as we go to Alessandro Vanozzi, 8th in class right now in the absolute Acelith machine at this moment in time. He's working his way through this section. He's got to try and find a way past Alex Dave Haase and then John Amaya.
And that's not going to be easy. I mean, you're now starting to see some standing water puddles being showcased in turn number 10. As we've got on board with the 107 Corvette, currently running P5 in class. As that's a bit late on the brakes. Oh, bit of a touch from behind as Haase loses the back end, being punted by Vanozzi. Now John Amaya's going to get through, but well, he's already through. But look at this. Alec Dave Haase has got 2 hard-charging Lamborghinis, and also the recovering Ryan Fuqua from Hyperion Racing in the number 5. He's got his teammate Nathan Deering not too far behind, and it's a wash with Corvette, Lamborghini, and Mustang.
Yeah, Volpato, the one who's now got to go side by side with Alec Dave Haase, and now behind him, Alessandro Venozzi having looks on the brakes to the right, car off in front of them. Then is going to be John Amaya, so suddenly six-pack challenge, and they're all getting themselves together. Pascal Hurl also looking to make moves. He's been given another 5-second time penalty out there for minor contact responsibility. So this is not the day that you want to be out there for Sudsport Racing Crom, leading as far as, or being in that 5th position, sorry, I should say. Look at the lines being taken here. Some karting lines trying to make it work around the outside.
God, it kind of reminds me of my first visit to Speedwell, based in Brück an der Leitha, just 20 minutes outside of the capital city of Vienna. But a send and a half by Alec Dave Haase. He's gone straight on.
And Fuqua and, well, actually the Hyperion cars have gone, I want none of this, we're taking our stop early. So they've jumped in and they want nothing of this group right now. Alex Dave Haase came in steaming at a rate of knots, and right now the outside, so look at it, there is standing water. You can see the reflection coming up off of the circuit. It's so wet.
Yeah, look at that. You see that little cheeky smile on the face of Pascal Hurl, even though he's got that 5-second time penalty coming his way. He's trying to go toe-to-toe with Lars Vettig, but there's a spinner just behind. And that was Patrick Schaefer has dropped the ball, I'm afraid.
That's going to be a real shame there. Schaefer knows how important it is to get a good result out there, and he knows that he is now going in the wrong direction. Hurled now trying to get around Vettig. There's a big accident on the backstretch. Mirko Bruckner is in trouble. He's backwards in the wall on the run to Rauch.
Oh. It was... Yeah, I mean, we're going to take a look at that very shortly, but all I can say is it was only going to be a matter of time with the significant change in atmospherics. The rain has gotten heavier and heavier, and let's have a look. Mirko
Safety
Bruckner.
car.
Oh, and that is all. Oy, 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 oy.
It's a massive hit. There's not much you can say about that, except it's the straight that isn't straight, basically. It's like you're on the Grand Tour once again. You are fighting for a piece of real estate, and when you've got these massive channels of water that's coming up, you can get tunnel vision. And so for the first time, we are under safety car here, and that will completely change the way that this race is going to run, because I'm pretty sure almost everybody, when pit lane opens, is going to come down in and take service, and we will get another look at that incident, Alex.
Yeah. So this is Venozzi going wide, and that was a little bit earlier on, and he wrote, a little bit of a half spin there. Ball the number 70 has to wait, gets back on the track, brings the gravel onto the circuit. But yeah, not at all surprised with the rain as it has been coming down as heavily as it has done. And that is now going to mean that Jan Senkowski, I think he had about, what, a 5-second lead before the safety car? That lead has just evaporated in an instant.
Well, it's the only thing that will evaporate in these conditions, if we're being quite honest about it. And for Team Heusingveld, I think they'll be turning around and saying, right, absolute ace-list there, but we are 1 and 3 in this race, and we are very happy at the fact that we're climbing up. Here's another look. This is Patrick Schaefer's moment then for Firefly E-Racing. He hits the brakes, and he tries to think about going forward. And he's just trying to get it up the hill on the power, and he just gets a little too much slip by the looks of things, and that one just goes away. Now, they do have traction control in these cars, so the traction control, you know, how much of an effect is it going to be in these wet conditions?
I think it's also dependent on the setup of the car, the confidence of the driver, whether they want to minimise the amount of use of traction control. Because in the wet conditions, some drivers will favour a very, very pointy car, whereas some drivers will favour a car that has a little bit of control aspect. So what I mean by that is... So there we go, race control still working where you could just... they are the unsung heroes here on SimRacing Republic. I think we are now at over 21 incidents that have been or currently are under investigation by the the steward's information screen that we get directly here in commentary, and it just goes to show that some drivers will want to have the car a little bit more responsive to their throttle and brake inputs, but here in the wet, you've got to find that fine line, and if you're one step over it, as we saw with Patrick Schaefer just a few minutes ago going through into Vetton, he might want to dial up the traction control a little bit more, just on power delivery.
Alex Dave Haase and a Jordan Svetanov come in and take service. Everybody else has stayed out then on this run around, so I don't know whether they're going to get end of lines on a closed pit, because pit entry has been declared open though, so they're okay to make that stop. But I would be looking around at this going, well, we're not actually going to be losing that much here. We pit with 50 minutes to go. It takes time off of us, and we take a lot less at our final stop. We might not even need to have the need of changing tyres at the last stop. We just come in, get a tiny little morsel of fuel, and go again.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think that's a very valid point there, Jake, and sometimes you want to maximize your strategy. I mean, look at, even at these slow speeds, the amount of rooster tail spray coming up of the back of Jan Senkowski's car. I mean, you could just make out Marcelo Caserta's car in the background. But then when we go at full speed, and of course, yeah, full speed in the wet is not as significantly quick, not as significantly quick as what we see in dry, but it looks like we have another replay coming up very shortly. So here it is, and this is Alex Dave Haase's lunge from absolutely way back when, and goes straight on. And then we see everyone else sort of fly on by, but yeah, I think it was a risk that he tried to take but completely misjudged it a little bit, and that's why he went straight on.
And that's now going to bring everybody into position. Safety car is now ending, so it's Senkowski from Caserta, from Hansen, from Wetzig, from Hurl. Your top 5 leader in GT3 Pro-Am is Negative Delta by simgear.gg, immediately followed by Firefly iRacing Red. So it's going to be a single file restart. Again, they can't go until the drop of the green flag, but now is a really good chance to see where they are. Jan Senkowski then is going to have to try and just cool off a little bit here in these very, very unpredictable, difficult conditions. He's had a few laps where he doesn't have to run at full pace. We're in Band 2 rain. We've had Band 3 rain that we've just gone through out there that has formed the issue. But as he will look to try and wait for the green flag to drop, which does now, we're going to be back underway here at the Red Bull Ring. And what a lovely start that was by Nicky Hansen. They immediately fan out, trying to look for room here in towards Nicky Lauda. Outside tries Hansen, doesn't work. 3 wide in the middle as they look to go through Nicky Lauda. Critically, Dominic Nabel making progress. A little slide back there for Sven Landrath, who loses out a couple places. They descend down the hill.
Yeah, and here comes Caserta on Senkowski. He's going to get a nose ahead, but it's a right-hander coming up here at Intervetten, and Caserta's got room to find that traction.
Look at Marcello go. He has got an almighty run out of the Intervetten. Jan Senkowski's going to have to be braver on the brakes down into Rauch, and he's not. He has to fall into line. They all skitter across the rubbered in line that has been put down from the first race, and suddenly Absolute Acelith have the lead.
Well, I think it was a case of Senkowski did the right thing on that restart, but Caserta, well, that is an absolutely fantastic way to try and get yourself to the sharp end of the field, because he's now the one that has got no compromised visibility, whereas Senkowski tastes it for the first time in this race with 46 minutes to go.
And soon, if you're not going to be careful on this circuit, it's going to start puddling up in places, and that's going to be what they're worrying about next when they've got standing water on this very wet circuit, because there are going to be big elements of this track where it's there. Volpato trying to go down the inside of Landgraf. That's never a bold decision out there. Slow off the final corners, Caserta, though, and Jan Senkowski is going to take this one straight back again. Looks up in the mirror. Have I got the clearance to move over? Yes, I do. And I've got the place, and Hansen goes steaming in at a rate of knots. Tried to get there. No drive off the exit. Suddenly, that Lamborghini looks great in the mid-corner.
Yeah, and also getting the traction down in these very, very wet conditions. So Caserta, again, to the outside at turn 3, like we saw 1 lap ago. Senkowski holds on to the lead. Hansen's got Hurl to the outside, and Hurl has got a nose ahead.
And he started 14th, and he's up to 3rd, and he's got 10 seconds of penalty that he's got to know. And now look at that, Senkowski pushed over there as they go through. And watch out, teammate on teammate, and they're going to turn. There goes Nicky Hansen. He gets turned. Hurl is up now into 2nd place. Disaster for Team Huizenveld. Rule 1.
Oh, dear. Oh, and I'm sure that there's going to be a little bit of frustration brewing. Not a little, a lot of frustration, because look, Senkowski has got to his outside Lars Wetzig in the number 17 German sim racing Mustang, and Wetzig is now through. So Senkowski, look at him, there's a little bit of frantic nerves on his face at the minute, because he was looking to his right as if to see, okay, what's in my mirrors next? Who's the next person that's going to possibly challenge me? And that car is not going to be David Fuqua. That is going to be Velin Vitanov, who is now running.
Car off. It's Sven Landgraf, who's gone around final corner, and he's put it into the barriers. He's back up to speed again, but he has spun it 360 and backed it into the inside pit wall.
Oi.
So, you look around at this now. I think for Jan Senkowski, because he had that hold-up, I think it's cooled his tyres too much.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Jake, because with these wet weather conditions, even with the way that these tyres are dispersing the surface water off of the track, oh, there's a squeeze here. That's Hansen involved.
Oh!
That is Velin Vitanov. He's shoving him into... Oh, no! No, 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 no! I cannot believe it. A 3-car... Oh, that's going to cause problems here.
Well, fortunately, everyone's through, but it has completely torn the front off of Nathan Deering, Nicky Hansen to the back, and a Jordanin Svetanov as well. It's a case of top and tailing, and I'll tell you who it will help in the championship. Absolute Acelith.
Right, okay, so this is Nicky Hansen's dive bomb and a half, clatters into Senkowski, nearly tags the back of Caserta. I mean, again, it's just how much risk versus reward do you want to take in a race like this? And it's kind of like, I could have added a second point, which is, yeah, keep your nose clean through turn 1, keep your nose clean and stay out of trouble on lap 1. It's then a case of, if there's a safety car, don't go all guns blazing within the first 2 to 3 laps. Let your tyres get back up to temp. Let your brakes get back up to temp. And then when your weapons are sharp, then start putting pressure, but don't take any unnecessary risks.
Well, they'll argue back at you here, Alex, and say every risk they've taken has been completely 100% necessary out there in these conditions. It's survive, it is attack or be attacked. At the moment, it feels like Volpato looking to try and move on up here in a good old scrap with Alec Dave Haase for 4th in class, and ultimately no real movement then between those two as they will descend down the hill. So let's take some stock at the moment. Marcelo Caserta leads. Pascal Hurl is there at the moment and trying to work through with what he's got in the race. I'm keeping an eye out on penalties. So car 169 has got a 10-second penalty. That's the absolute ace lift 02 right now with Volpatis. So he's got 10. Minor car responsibility for 5. Ryan Fuqua's got 5 seconds, and 5 seconds have been adjudicated the way of car 49, Jan Senkowski.
Well, I'm going to say this phrase. You get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty. This could be a recurring theme as Pascal Hurl out of the final corner. Vexic with cat-like reflexes, and straight into him goes Velen Vitanov.
Dominic Nobel's also gone, so both the Sudsport cars have just spun at the final corner in exactly the same way. So goodness gracious me, it changes everything. And German sim racing, the Eagles, are flying out there at the moment. Pascal Hurl is desperately trying to get that back. He's going to have to pull it over to the side of the road. I reckon we might get a second safety car. He pulls it off. He shouldn't have done that. He should have waited for race control, but I think we could get a second safety car for that.
Yeah. I mean, also, race control have to make that dependent on the severity of the incident. But what this has also helped is also German sim racing, 3rd and 4th.
Safety car.
David, and yeah, safety car out for the second time. But this has helped Colin David. And bearing in mind, where was Colin David in the sprint race? Way down the order.
Absolutely, and remember, he was not allowed to take his grid position of 9th on the grid. He had to start from pit lane for a tow issue in qualifying where he towed the car and then went back out again. Everyone does it, but you're not allowed to do it in this series. He then had to race from pit lane back to 11th, back to 9th, sorry, and then from 9th, he's now up into 5th. So this is suddenly turning into an all-out everywhere run at this moment in time. But the key here is who's managing to get away with damages here, there, and everywhere. So this was Dominic Nobel's issue. Out on the curb, you never want to be out there when you're running yourself into troubles. And he finds himself spinning around with not much that he's able to do about it, just a 360. But it was Hurl who had the big issue out there, and the major contact that then came along, not for German sim racing, who were able to avoid it, for Negative Delta, who went broadside into the door.
Yeah. And, yeah, we're going to have a look at the replay here. So, comes through, avoids the curb, avoids the white line, touches the inside curb with the right front, spins the car around. There's the T-bone from Vitanov, which then pushes Pascal Hurl around without a rear bumper. And I'm wondering if there was damage to the right rear of that car. Oh, look at the steering, absolutely destroyed.
Realised it's not safe, I can't hold it in a straight line, pulled it over to one side and realised, yeah, I am on the racing surface, and just like that, safety car is then deployed out there. So it's tough to deal with there. It's Hurl's mistake, and Vitanov's got nowhere to go in that position because you're committed to the line that you have to take. So let's take stock again. Absolute Acelith then in control with Marcelo Caserta. He leads. Where is his teammate, though? His teammate's off and in the wall, in the background. He's in the wall. Alessandro Vanozzi is in the wall under safety car. He has run completely up the back of Dominic Nobel as he has run through there. We're trying to hit the brakes, and ultimately he has not scouted him through the the water that has come up.
It's all coming down to that visibility again, and that is a very, very second-hand looking Huracan. So, yeah, let's have a look at the replay here. So, yeah, he's just keeping an eye on what's going on. Oh.
Wakey, wakey, Alessandro. That is
right.
A hefty hit.
I definitely know that the term rise and shine would definitely not be appropriate right about now. It's sort of like just be like if you need to wake someone up early in the morning, just fling an ice cold bucket of water on the face. Well, even that didn't help Alessandro on that point.
No, But what it has meant here is that we do have a car a lap down, which is Firefly iRacing Bronze. They are going to get their lap back on the wave around here, and Dominic Nabel is still paused out there on circuit, so that's going to be key. One pace lap is going to be added. Pit lane right now is effectively open, and Nicholas Volpato has come in for that, and I think they're trying to wait this out as long as possible. Svetanov also back in again, takes his second stop. So in theory, Svetanov's got his 2 compulsory stops done, and he's good to go to the end.
Yeah, that could really play in his favour at this point, because we've still got, well, we're getting closer and closer to half time in around about 3 minutes as Svetanov now makes his way out of pit lane, as does Volpato. So yeah, these drivers will be good to go until the end of the race, and with the fact of the lap times that we have seen, of course, under safety car conditions, they're going to be a lot more than what they would normally be. So we're probably talking about 2:10s, 2:12s, give or take, under racing conditions. But more to the point, it's about, with 35 minutes to go, Plan A has gone out the window. Plan B has gone out the window. What plan are the drivers and teams currently on is the big question that we really need to see answered here, Jake.
Alex, do they go to hexadecimal in terms of what plan they're on?
I don't know, but I think the rule book has been, well, I think the playbook has been ripped up and thrown in the bin. And there is a, well, a
modified.
Nathan, they decided, we're going to bring the Mustang GT3 with the new aero intake package. Forget the front splitter, it'll be fine.
Mad Nathan, Deering Road. That's the way we got to look at it right now. It's very much Mad Max style at this moment. Nathan Deering, the number 4 Hyperion racing car, in trouble. And Hyperion are not traditionally a GT team. They are more known for being an LMP2 team in iRacing.
Yeah, and they have good strength of drivers in GTP and LMP2 competitions, but it was only last season where we really did see some great performances, including this man here, Ryan Fuqua, in one of the crews last season for GT Open, and also for the for the sports car championship. So again, Hyperion Racing are still showing that they are still learning as they go. And when you make the transition from
everybody except Absolute Acelith.
Well, pit lane is about to get very, very busy indeed. And one wrong misstep, you accidentally go a little bit too late on the brakes and miss your marker in the pit lane. That is going to cost you a good couple of seconds. But like say with Ryan Fuqua, was another one that we saw last season in GT Open. That was one that was really, really quick to adapt to GT machinery. And it's a very, very different style of racing, going from prototypes into GTs. But Fuqua, oh well, look at this, great use of the fast repair by Nathan Deering, and now there's an absolute flummox of cars struggling to get out of pit lane. And well, that has really played into the fact of Fuqua and Deering are 5th and 6th respectively in the Pro Division.
Right, let's now put the field into perspective. Caserta in front, John Amaya is leader of the Pro-Am division in 2nd position overall. Jordanin Svetanov, by the way, is still trying to keep himself involved. He is currently in 3rd overall at this moment in time as things stand, with Sven Landgraf in 4th and Nicholas Volpato 5th on the road. The timing tower not quite fully updated in terms of where everyone is going to be at the moment, because Fuqua is currently ahead of Jan Senkowski, so we're waiting for that to update as and when it does, and drivers are going to be looking around at that. We'll get that updated when they cross the finish line out there, but this has now suddenly turned into, well, who has and who hasn't, and the big key is Svetanov has done 2 pit stops in this race. most everybody else has done one. Caserta has done none.
Well, Fuqua's done 2. Alec Dave Haase has done 2. Svetanov and Deering have also done 2. So that could give all 4 cars a potential advantage. But yeah, like you say, with Caserta and Amaya both leading their respective classes in Pro and Pro-Am, the big question will be, when will they pit? Because as soon as those safety car lights go out, we're going to be getting ready for going green, but you see who is behind them, and that is Svetanov. So good call there by the 182 negative delta by SimGit.gg.
Oh, Amaya's in.
Amaya's got in. So I think this is going to be the case that Caserta might be the last one to pit, but that depends on when the safety car phase is concluded.
And what that will now mean as well is, what is that going to add, as car number 69 as well is out there and is trying to make this one run in the way that's necessary. But this could be that they entered a closed pit and got themselves to position, but they are turning themselves around and saying, okay, this is what we've got. John Amaya has to wait to the back of the pack out there, and so I'm looking around, and those cars that came in a lap earlier than everybody else will be marked as entering a closed pit. So they are going to get an end-of-line penalty.
Oh dear. That is not what you need at this point. So that is going to be... that is going to really hurt. But here comes some... Well, we're getting a replay of Amaya.
Yeah, he's waiting for the pit exit to open.
Yeah, so he's waiting for that light to go green, isn't he? So he can't move until that light changes. Kind of reminds me of when Lewis Hamilton at his first ever Canadian Grand Prix went steamrolling into the back of Kimi Räikkönen.
That was a moment that could have decided that championship in 2007 if he'd chosen to go into Robert Kubica instead.
True. True.
So, Marcelo Caserta in a position of race-leading placement at this moment in time, looks behind at Sven Landgraf, who is now in this second position out there, and Ryan Fuqua, who is now up to third. Senkovsky currently fourth, with Deering, Haase, Wetzig, David and Vitanov as they run down through the rest of the top 10. And now is a case of they are looking for the calm that goes before this proverbial storm. It's been a long safety car period. The lights are still on here as they're trying to sort everybody out then at this point. So they'll get at least one more go around. So that's one more chance to say, look, I'm going to have to take service here if I'm Marcelo Caserta and bow out from my leading position here to go on forward. But you just keep counting the laps down. They're not going to be pacing forever. Race Control have a very, very tough order. They've got Stream up on the top. They've got Live in Sim at the moment down on the bottom. Timing towers and everything on the left, you know, and they've got Discord communication on the right on the vertical screen. So that is a lot of moving pieces that has to be done here by the team out there of Maximilian Fritz, who you can see out there, and Marvin Bear.
Yeah. They have to look at every single incident from every perceivable camera angle that you could think of here on iRacing. But now, safety car lights are out.
So that would indicate to me one more lap to go. And if anyone was maybe marginal on fuel to the end, fueling it up, they're now going to have surplus to go and attack with. Jan Senkovsky sitting third in class, fourth in the race here. And he'll be turning around, and he's seen everybody left and right and left and right. And look at him. He is aggressively trying to get some temperature into those tyres. The amount of time they've been running here, and this is 3 laps now where they've not put anything into it, they will be stone cold out there. The glass will shatter, and a man from Texas is going to walk out onto circuit.
Yeah, I think one of the other things we've got to remember here is that the temperature has slightly fluctuated. At one point, our lowest temperature, the track temperature, was 19 degrees centigrade. We've now gone up to 21. I mean, Jan Senkowski better be just a little bit careful with all this weaving from side to side, because we have seen it before where drivers have got a little bit more exuberant on the weaving from side to side to get the temperature into the tyres. And look at Senkowski. He was weaving that car from left to right like nobody's business, coming down into turn 4 out of foul. But again, it is just about having that confidence in the wet. He does not want to get caught out like we had on the previous safety car restart, where he dropped like a proverbial stone. He wants to be prepped and ready to mount an early attack after this safety car peels into pit lane, as the leaders take us through turn 7 at Graz.
It's Category 2 rain they're under at the moment. There is a massive amount of Category 3, 4, and even a hint of Category 5 rain on the horizon in the direct path of the circuit for the final 25 minutes. This track is going to be an absolute deluge to finish, and the way they are right now is by no means a guarantee on how this race is going to finish. This is going to be an absolutely almighty battleground then to finish. Safety car comes in. Marcello Caserta has the control of the field in the absolute ace of number 69. He can't go till the drop of the green flag. Landgraf leading the AM category is directly behind, and hold on to your hats because we got drivers out of position going for it. Green flag drops and we're underway, and it was a good launch there from Senkowski. They're already trying to fan out and they can't overtake before the green line, and so they're going to be very much looking around and who jumped who. Vitanov, Hansen, all there into Nicky Lauda they go once again. 2 wides and 3 wides, they all just about tiptoed through. They head down to Munster and then turn 3 of the Intervetten. Right now it's very Vetten down there at turn 3 as they're going to look to try and hit the brakes, but the top 2 are clear. Senkowski up to third past Fuqua. Here comes Nathan Deering.
Also keep your eyes on the 107, Alec Dave Haase. He's now P2 in the Pro-Am division, but he's getting swallowed up a little bit here by the pair of David and Wetzig for German Sim Racing. And, well, Haase has to put on the blockers to keep Wetzig at bay, who's gone right, who's trying to go round the outside of his teammate of David in the number 18, and he's just about made it through.
Hansen and Vitanov are off. They pushed each other off through that section. Goodness gracious, that rejoin for Nicky Hansen. Everyone had to get out of the way, including Julian Eichenlaub for the Jens Brothers competition. They just about managed to skirt about it, but now they've got to get themselves back onto power with 23:23 left on the clock. That was scary.
Yeah, as now we ride on board with Colin David in the number 18 German Sim Racing car. He cannot see a thing going down the hill into Jochen Rindt, and then straight away Alec Dave Haase comes across his front bumper to hold on to P2 in the Pro-Am class, but Colin David gets the run out of the final corner. Haase, I think, might have just had a little bit of slippage on the rear wheels coming out of that final corner, but nevertheless that was a good little move from Colin David. Lars Wetzig now has an opportunity up the hill through. He can't be motoring along through turn 2. He's got to make sure he gets through by turn 3. But with that deluge of spray, that rain looks to be intensifying once again. And look at this, Alec Dave Haase completely blind in that weather as they get into the braking zone, hid for Intervetten, and Wetzig trying to go round the outside at 3. Can't get the job done. And then just behind him, you've got the recovering Patrick Schaefer, who had that full rotation 180 degrees a little bit earlier on at turn 3.
And in all of that, turn 1, Senkowski up to second on the road. So he's looking out, oh, massive catch of the curb. Somehow Nicholas Volpato's got it slowed up. There he's got the likes on the outside there of the Team Hoisingveld machine. That's going to be enough there for Nicky Hansen to get through, but Volpato could have gone anywhere, and there's a car off, and it is Petracchi who is in the gravel at turn 6.
Oh, just watch your rejoin. Marco manages to stay on the black stuff after getting out of the kitty litter, but Jan Senkowski now trying to close in on Marcello Caserta for the overall race lead. And look at this, Alec Dave Haase to the outside at turn 9 on Lars Vetzig. And that is for P7 overall. Patrick Schaefer is only a second behind that battle, and that gap is going to drop rapidly as once again the Rooster Tails are playing their part in this weather, as now it's become moderately wet according to the track conditions, and this is going to get a lot harder before it gets a lot easier when people can breathe a complete sigh of relief as Jan Setkowski right on the gearbox of Marcello Caserta into turn 3 and into Vetton. And now it all slows down, but then it all picks up again as Caserta bolts away like a bullet shot out of a gun.
Yeah, and there's the smile there from Jan Senkowski. How on earth does he have that much traction on his tyres right now? I don't get it. How has he managed to pull that much of a gap on me? I was right underneath him, behind him, both Landgraf and Deering went off. Oh, car spearing off! Alec Dave Haase, massive slide, and he's avoided everybody down at Rauch.
Oh, that's second time again at the same point on the circuit for the number 107 from Jens Brothers competition. It hasn't been Alec Dave Haase's day here at Spielberg.
I think we're going to have to get a replay of this here, just how difficult this was. Nicky Hansen we'll see first and foremost here. So he's trying to just walk the tightrope, gets to the outside, and then he has accidentally hooked him there, trying to get the power down, Velin Vitanov. So they both get dumped to the outside, and then very scary on the rejoin there for Nicky Hansen there as he tried to go through. Very much a case of being Simba, as there's going to be a change for your race lead. Is there? Yes, because Marcello Caserta has to pit.
Oh, it's only going to be a matter of time before the number 69 Absolute Aceless Lamborghini, and that is going to be his only pit stop, it looks like. Well, bit of a strategy call there for Caserta, but meantime, look at all the squabbling. There's 3 Lamborghinis, a Ferrari, a Mustang, all coming through turn 1 at a big old rate of speed, and then it's like trying to...
Safety car.
Oh, right.
So that's going to be for Alec Dave Haase, who has not been able to drive away after his incident. So he had that massive moment down at turn 4 at Rauch. And so for him, that was enough to get him in. And I wonder whether, yeah, he's caught the puddle down the hill, bang, into the side. And look at the heads-up reaction there from the German sim racing car.
Yeah, that was Colin David as Lars Vetzig came into shot. So, yeah, that's standing water. And I think also got another replay coming up now, as we're just under 18.5 minutes to go. Oh, this is Freiburghaus. Oh, no. This is through turn 9, completely sideways for the Firefly E-Racing Mustang. And he ends up in the gravel, but luckily enough, it was only a small slide into that part of the circuit, and he managed to gather things back up, dust himself off a little bit, and put the gravel behind him, so to speak.
Well, goodness gracious, they're all dropping around here. This has been tough. This was Marco Petracchi. Oh, in way too deep. He's just missed his braking mark, and he's lucky he's not taken anyone with him. Straight into the gravel, and nothing else that can be done about it at that moment. And I'm not sure, actually, with that stop that's come through from Marcello Caserta, whether he's got lucky or unlucky that the safety car came out the moment after he left the pits.
Yeah, well, I mean, bearing in mind that that was his 22nd lap, I believe, before pitting. So Marcello Caserta, if he is able to make some moves up the order, of course, this is going to drop him right down the order, probably to around about the lower echelon of the top 15. This means that he's only, I mean, I'm looking at his pit stop. Yeah, 18, yeah, so 18 seconds for Caserta, and well, it's 19 seconds in the pits, so that's probably going to give him the maximum amount of fuel he needs. And one of the things that we also need to consider is that in the wet weather conditions, what helps with regards to traction? Fuel load.
It does, because it adds more weight to the car and therefore adds more stability to the car. So that gives you a real sense. Nathan Deering, second in class. Ryan Fuqua, third in class. The Hyperion Americans right now, in these wet conditions, they're going to be laughing to the bank about how many points they're going to score out here with a third and a fourth. And German Sim Racing as well, fifth and sixth. And the Firefly E-Racing cars, seventh and eighth. They're going to be laughing about how the fact that they're going to be scoring big points here.
Yeah, and that's going to make things even tighter going into round 3 of the season. So, yeah, I mean, when you said about the fact that rain was inbound, the first thing I did was started rubbing my hands and smiling with glee, like saying, yeah, we're going to have a very, very unpredictable race. And that's exactly what we've ended up with. But there's still 15 minutes and 40 to go. Still waiting to see when the safety car will be pitting, but the lights are still on the M2 Cup car as we ride on board with Nathan Deering. And that rain, yeah, that is looking more like DEFCON 3 than it is DEFCON 2 at the moment. That is intensifying, and how bad could it get in the next 15 minutes is anyone's guess here, Jake.
Well, from the radar, it's about to be DEFCON 4.
Well, all I can say, in the words of Martin Lawrence from Bad Boys, a little bit of woosah needed right now.
Yeah, very much so. And you look around here at Nathan Deering. He's got the calm persona at the moment. And all of this, and this is crucial to note here, is taking time off the clock. With Jan Senkowski in the lead, he's looking at going 4 from 4 at the front of this field, getting 2 wins at Monza. He's on course to get 2 wins here at the Red Bull Ring. And I suppose the word that he was hoping that he could use today was never in doubt. Very much it's been in doubt for the mid part of this race.
Yes, whilst picking up a 5-second penalty as well. But
that's huge as well, because he's got to clear 5 seconds.
Yeah. So he's got to make sure that he bolts, because look at that. Safety car lights are out. We are not that far away. Another 7 corners before we go green once again. So it'll be around about 13 minutes to go, give or take. And then it will be the case of Senkowski. Again, he is weaving from side to side. He's got Sven Landgraf, who leads in Pro-Am. It's kind of what's quite interesting as we see Max Fritz there looking on at some of the video camera footage that he's analysing at the minute. The previous safety car restart, we had a Pro and a Pro-Am in first and second. We've got exactly the same, but rather than it being 2 Lamborghinis for Absolute Acelith, it's now a Ferrari from Team Heusingveld. And then we've got Firefly E-Racing Red's Sven Landgraf in the Mustang, who has got behind him a trio of Lamborghinis. Senkowski has got in the GT3 Pro division, he's got Deering, Fuqua, David and Betsy, all in Ford Mustangs behind him. And when you consider the fact that in the top, with regards to the top 5 in each class, 50% of it for GT3 Pro and GT3 Pro-Am are Mustangs.
Car of wet weather choice. There will be no more safety cars after this. The deadline, which is set at 15 minutes, is now passed. So this is flat out to the end, no matter what happens. Senkowski with control. Landgraf in second for Firefly E-Racing Red. The Hyperions, the German Sim Racings, the Firefly E-Racings back there. Then the Aceliths. It's very form at this moment in time. Senkowski has to wait for the green flag to drop in order to go, and there is the green flag, and he's got a mile on Sven Landgraf, who was a little slow to the restart. Heusingveld, no. If they want this win on circuit, they're going to have to get 5 seconds. Look at them fan out then to 2 wides, to 3 wides, to 4 wides. There's a big hit, and all of the Acelith cars go around set 1.
Oh, it's a wet weather car park on the M25 on a Friday night there. Some drivers, well, one of the Mustangs was getting a little bit close to the white lines coming through in towards Münster as they go through into Intervetten. Here at turn 3, Colin David, P3 in class, but P4 overall, as we're going to go heading down into Hull. Nathan Deering trying to see what he might be able to do, but he's got to try and first of all get through on the 140 Firefly iRacing Red Mustang. Sven Landgraf as they come out of 4 into 5. Then it's the dip downhill through 6 and 7. And Senkowski's got a lead over Landgraf, which is about a second or so. But that gap is starting to increase. Nathan Deering knows that his time is now to try and see if he can get through on Landgraf. But bearing in mind, they're both in the same machinery, and right behind them, that is Colin David in the number 18 German SimRacing Red Mustang, right on his rear diffuser. So Nathan Deering has got to tee up a move, get through on Landgraf, put Landgraf between himself and Colin David, as we've got just over 10 minutes and 20 to go. And that's lap 26 completed here. Look at the spray. Absolutely biblical. All you need now is Moses to come along to try and part the seas here heading into Niki Lauda corner.
You absolutely do, and now this is where I think they're setting up. Wetzig here and Fuqua, where they are at the moment. Schaefer, then Vitanov, then Volpato, all trying to chase down. But the key is, it's not Nathan Deering. I think Colin David's the threat here for the field right now, and you'll see cars diving out of line just to get sight. Off the road then, over at 3, goes Nathan Deering. He's going to try and get the pace on as Wetzig still fights Fuqua full position and doesn't quite get what he needs, and Nathan Deering still holds his place after running wide on the outside. Suddenly, keep an eye out on that gap. It was 1 second over the line. Landgraf could get a win, and oh my goodness me.
Colin David touched the curb with his left rear tyre, and that back end stepped out quicker than you could say the word jump, as here we possibly might have a chance here for Colin David to get through, but he gets a big amount of rooster tail spray right in the front windshield. Wiper going like the clappers, but Nathan Deering just keeping it calm and collected behind that steering wheel. He gets an oppo lock.
That's what Colin David was hoping for. The chance on the outside of turn 8, gets the drive to 9. He's up to 3rd. Now he's got to try and chase down Sven Landgraf here and get there. Black flag for Alessandro Vanozzi out there, and that is going to be, for him, a case of a 60-second stop and hold for crashing under safety car.
Well, it's one of the big no-nos. Don't ever crash under safety car conditions. And, well...
Oh, Nicky Hansen's around.
Oh.
This will be over the top of the hill, all on his own. Now, he would have been absolutely 100% clear. He would have been on the curb, and he's done it on the exit curb of 8.
So, oh, right, that's one of the German SimRacing cars having a little bit of a wobble. That was Lars Wetzig. And behind him, he's got Velin Vitanov. His 2 is outside, going through into Intervetten. And in front of them is Patrick Schaefer, now up into P2 in Pro-Am. So Patrick Schaefer has been stealthily making moves. But look, oh my goodness, with 7 3/4 minutes to go, this is a torrid time for the drivers, because no matter where you place the car, if there is high acceleration, top speeds involved, the rooster tails are so bad, you are just going on of what the feel is like underneath the car. You're going by just gut reaction, instinct, and on a wing and a prayer all at the same time.
Absolutely, you've just got to hold your nerve out there, and that's what we're seeing here from Patrick Schaefer. Big kicker tail there for one of the Hyperion cars. I think it was Ryan Fuqua who was struggling. Schaefer wants to get involved here and continue to make this close. Vitanov is flying in these conditions right now and trying to catch anything late. Remember, 5 seconds is the margin that Senkowski needs to win this. Another snap under braking from Fuqua right now. He is holding on to everything. I think his game is snap at the moment, but, you know, these are wet conditions for Go Fish.
Yeah, maybe a bit of Finding Nemo whilst you're at it as well. But Ryan Fuqua currently holding on to P4 at the moment, as the battle between Schaefer and Vitanov is carrying on for P2 in the Pro-Am division. So this is going to be rather...
Vitanov! My goodness, what a big moment down the hill that is. Able to keep it out of trouble. Oh my goodness, that could have been massive for Velin Vitanov. And if he was a cat of 9 lives, he's used 8 of them.
Yeah, and the pop-ball meter has gone into overdrive. When he saves, here we're going to see with Marco Petracchi, and this is the absolute ace-lift pile-up at turn 1. And, well, one of the hoisting belt cars, I think there was Hansen, got squeezed and had nowhere to go. And, oh, that was quite unexpected there.
What can you say about it? That 3 of your 4 cars in the race have just been caught up in an instant, and it was very nearly all of them that found themselves caught up in it. Absolute ace, and they have not had the day they've wanted here at the Red Bull Ring. Caserta trying hard to pull back any time that is available out there at this moment in time. I can confirm that car 20 is going to be the recipient of, it will be car 20 out there, which will be Marco Petracchi's 103. Will get 15 seconds out there at this moment in time. So he's not going to be too pleased out there. This is just survival in this one. A pit window has closed. You're driving this one all the way to the end. But as it stands, Sven Landgraf, with the penalty for Jan Senkowski, is currently going to be a Pro-Am who wins the race.
It's quite a big thing, as Fuqua and Deering, side by side, the 2 Hyperion Racing teammates, up through Munza, and now into the braking zone, into turn 3 here at Intervetten. Oh, and I think that was Lars Vetzig going straight off, but it was. Oh, his meter was definitely clenching right about then. Missed his braking point completely, straight on at turn 3. And that is not what you want to have happen at a gradient of 12%. Of course, you know, it's like you said, Jake, it is just about that survival. Also, we've got a replay coming up in the top right-hand corner, and that is Nicky Hansen from just a moment ago, and he's on the wet stuff. And that is the replay of what we saw earlier when he went spiralling into the barriers.
So Jan Senkowski, 2.4 it was over the line. We're down to 3 minutes 40. They're doing 1:45, and so I think we're down to just 2 laps to go. You've got this battle between Deering, Schaefer, Vetzig. They're all trying to get themselves in because there's huge points on the line here in this master race, and it's going to be about who can hold down and say, look, we've got it. Senkowski crosses the line with a 3.2 second gap. He's got to get 1.8 seconds in the last 2 laps to go and win this race. But for the moment, Schaefer, Vetzig still looking for their angles here up into Niki Lauda. Vetzig tries the outside, but Schaefer's got the line.
Yeah, nice and neat move done there by Schaefer, who is about 1.2 seconds ahead of Nicholas Volpato, as we're going to have a replay of Velin Vitanov. Absolutely blind was the 181, and it's off onto the grass and keeping it out of the barriers. So well played by Velin Vitanov not to end up with potential significant damage on the 181 car that has now tumbled to 4th place in the Pro-Am class.
Oh, Vetzig! Watch out in front of him. Massive accident down the hill. There's 2 of them that have gone off at the same time. Major incident. Marcelo Caserta and Patrick Schaefer.
Oh dear, that has once again, well, Patrick Schaefer, who is running P2, that's put Volpato and Vitanov up into 2nd and 3rd. Oh dear, this is just, everyone's going to breathe a collective sigh of relief once this race is completed. Look at Nathan Deering, the back end of that Mustang going out a little bit, but here is the replay. Caserta just loses it all on his own, and then you've got Schaefer already doing the same thing. That's the turn 4. We saw that with Alec Dave Haase, and that happened twice in the race earlier on, and both Lamborghinis have just fallen foul of the conditions, but Sven Landgraf Now it comes out of the final corner. The gap between, well, let's just see what the lap times are.
3.7.
So Senkovsky is not that far away from hitting more than 5 seconds advantage over Landgraf. Landgraf's got to try and pick up the pace, but not go too over egregious with trying to close that gap down.
So he lost half a second on that last lap, which pulled it to 3.7. Team Huizinveld need 1.3 on this last lap to win 4 straight. 2 sprints, 2 masters. Landgraf's gone a little deep, going in through at the Intervetten, and they might be getting what they want. Colin David is waiting behind as well. As far as it goes, Senkovsky has just got to drive the rims off of that Ferrari 296 and absolutely get away from that Firefly iRacing red car. That's the sense of the camera that we've got. He can only see through where the windscreen wipers are. It's absolutely chucked it down here today as he works hard through turn 6, over to Gratz at turn 7, and he has got to hope that he's got that gap of 5 seconds. This one's going to come right down to the line. How many Mississippis can you count while it's been like the Mississippi Delta, the way it's been so wet? Has Jan Senkovsky found something that he needs? He's got a smile on his face. He thinks he's got 5 seconds. Then as he works through, timer expiring here as he goes through Jochenrindt, looking over to that final corner here at this turn number 10, and to the line on circuit. It's Team Huizinveld who come to the line and take it. But Firefly iRacing Red, count your seconds now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it going to be enough? He crosses the line, and the answer is no. He's 3/10 shy. Senkovsky's got 4 in a row.
And Sven Landgraf weathers the storm in Pro-Am to take the win, as Velen Vitanov, Patrick Schaefer round out the top 3. Drama for Nicholas Valpato, who was second with a matter of corners to spare, and the 169 drops all the way down to 4th. And we've got a bit of a skirmish here. This is going to be for the top 5 of the respective classes, and that is going to be, I think, Julian Eichenlau has just crossed the line in P6, and it was Steven Freiberghaus for Firefly iRacing Blue that has just taken P5 in Pro-Am. But oh my days, we knew the rain was coming, and it was absolutely torrential at the end of it, with the track declared very wet.
A race today where we did not know the winner until second place crossed the line today. But Jan Senkovsky has the GT3 Pro win and wins that by effectively 1.3 seconds over Lars Wetzig there in second. Big result for Ryan Fuqua and Nathan Deering. Hyperion will take big points, as will German Sim Racing. The Eagles were soaring out there. It's Marcelo Caserta 6th, despite going backwards in class. And then Nick Hansen 7th, and Alessandro Vanozzi with 2 60-second stop and holds in that race. The other one for unsportsmanlike conduct there towards the end. And 2 cars out of the race in the category. Both of the Sudsport racing cars finding trouble in exactly the same point on circuit. Dramatic to say the least, as was Pro-Am with Alex.
Yeah, Sven Landgraf for Firefly iRacing takes the win, with it being a Mustang 1-2. Velen Vitanov taking the second place ahead of Mirko Brugner, with Firefly iRacing having a great strong result in the master race. Nicholas Volpato for Absolute Acelith and Steven Freiberghaus for Firefly iRacing round out your top 5. Julian Eichenlau for Jens Brothers Competition, the leading of the 2 Corvettes, finishes P6, with Svetanov Amaya rounding out the top 8 in the division. And then we turn the page to the last few runners in this. Petraki, Schaefer and Haase rounding out the 11 that did well. I think when you have to look at it, Alec Dave Haase and the rest of them not having the greatest run of form here today.
Wow, what a day. What a day at the office. And we are going to get the chance to jump in with Jan Senkovsky here, who has got 4 in a row, 2 sprints, 2 masters. We saw you there in the final stages, Jan. You needed 5 seconds over the final run to get yourself clear, and it took you right until the final corners to get that win secured.
That was definitely an interesting second race, especially with that much water on the track. At times it was really, really difficult to even stop the car. For example, turn forward was downhill. It was just like sliding and sliding.
Very difficult, and especially for your teammate Nicky, who you ended up in a little bit of a confrontation with down there at route corner. So talk us through your end, because suddenly, all of a sudden, there's your teammate and he's right up on your nose.
Yeah, I just heard basically a scream in the voice, and I looked into the mirror and saw just a car coming right up my right side, and yeah, I just tried to delay the turn in as much as possible, but I think I still tagged him, and yeah, even sent him further into the grab, I think. So yeah, it was a bit of mistake from his side, but yeah, that cost us a bit. But generally, the safety cars were not too good for us, because the Ferrari is very good in the long sweeping corners. That we have quite an advantage, for example, compared to the Lamborghini and Mustang. But in the braking and acceleration, with no chance. So once they were by, it was very hard to pass again. So yeah, still happy that then in the end it turned out this way. But yeah, unlucky for Nick, who had a very trying race.
It showed actually how much he had to struggle there late on. It's very tough around these conditions. I'm sure for you, 4 wins out of 4 gives you a big smile. But with teams behind like German Sim Racing and Hyperion picking up big results in the Master, are you looking at this that there's now threats on all sides heading to Mangikor in 2 weeks?
Yeah. Well, I think it's up to the phrase, taking every race as it is, maximizing the points. Yeah. I mean, I haven't had a really look who else scored big points today, because especially in the second race it wasn't really worth looking who's where, because they could change anytime very quickly. Some Pro-Am cars in there. So yeah, honestly, I don't really know the results.
Well, for what we can confirm, Absolute Acelif have had a very tough day at the office, and so too have the team of Negative Delta by simgear.gg. So I think it's going to be a little bit open as to who is where. But what a big result. Jan Senkowski, 4 wins in the world in this series, and absolutely dominating things no matter where it goes. What a wonderful result that was for him today. Now, next time out in terms of your racing action here with us on the Global SimRacing Channel for the SimRacing Republic GT Open, we head to the Circuit de Nevers Mangikor. August 16th is going to be the place, which just so happens to be my wedding anniversary, so I'm going to have to ask very nicely whether I'm going to be coming back here for Mangikor or not, and that's going to be a whole heap of fun. 1:45 UTC, it is 9:45 Eastern for that one, brought to you as part of a Genesis Extreme production. And as well, you've got what's coming up over the rest of this week, because in, believe it or not, 35 minutes, I'll be back. I'll have Craig King with me over at St. Petersburg. So my express teleporter is going to be in full display for that one as we go over to there. Skip Barbers will be back on Thursday at Road America. And then we'll be back at St. Pete on Saturday with the Grand Prix Legend Series before the Nürburgring comes to mind for IMSA Vintage at 5 p.m. UTC for that. A massive thanks to the team that's brought this show over to you. From Alex Goldschmidt, who's been dependable alongside me, Christian Deploy, who has been in the director's chair using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. My name is Jake Sperry. Well, a little bit of moisture. You might think it doesn't do much, but my goodness, that race went from 0 to 100 quicker than a whisper. That was everything of hold on, give yourself every platform to go out there and succeed. And ultimately, it's a day where everyone has sat out. Before we go, though, very quickly, we're going to grab Nathan Deering here, who has just jumped in with us here from Hyperion Racing. Nathan is stood by with Alex Goldschmidt.
Nathan, a really good result in that main race here at the Red Bull Ring for both you and Ryan, but even you had to deal with a little bit of loss of traction on the back end of that Mustang.
Yeah, it was a crazy race. I'm not sure if you guys could see it from our cockpits, but you couldn't see a thing majority of the lap. So I was just trying to keep it on track there at the end, bring home a good result for both me and Ryan.
And it also means that both of you get some really, really good points. I mean, we did see quite a few of the onboards, and obviously there was a moment where you went full Oppo lock and just controlled it rather nicely, just to get out of jail free card. But still, the Red Bull Ring is a true challenge, and it has to be respected.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really tough finding your breaking points. So trying to get out of line was helping, but there was so much spray and so much water on the track, it was almost impossible if you're the third or fourth car in line. So I'm just happy I kept it on track. I did get into Ryan there. I'm sure you guys saw him pump me into turn one. But safety cars helped us there at the end, and yeah, had a really solid finish in the end.
Well, at least the good thing is you guys didn't have the same fate as what 3 of the absolute acelith cars had at T1. But great result for both you and Ryan, and well done. And we'll see you guys at round 3 at Manucore.
Yep, thank you guys.
Well, there you have it from Nathan Deering, an opportunity that awaits him in 2 weeks' time. And a lot of drivers saying, how do we stand up on Song in 2 weeks' time? The one thing, though, that is very clear, it's Huysingveld on top again. Jan Senkowski is going to have a very sore back by the time he reaches Manucore, the way he's carrying Team Huysingveld over to the top. He has got everybody on his shoulders, and he's saying, come on, keep up, rain or shine. My team is the best out there at the moment. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and we'll see you in half an hour for racing action, because we'll see you for Lotus 79s and more of the SimRacing Republic GT Open.
This is iRacing.
This is absolutely huge. Cannot script this race. Straight down the inside. Everyone into the corner. There's a bit of panel rubbing. Sanchez Gonzalez is around.